Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. US and Arab leaders call for a stable transition in Syria, urge respect for minorities after Assad. Sri Lanka's President Zelenskyy, to begin his first overseas three-day India visit starting today, will meet his Indian counterpart and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And US President-elect Donald Trump picks Richard Grenell, his former intelligence chief, as presidential envoy for special missions. And on to the details now. First, updates from West Asia as Jordan is hosting a meeting of foreign ministers to discuss support for Syria after the fall of Bashar Assad, while Turkey will reopen its embassy in the country after a 12-year closure. Russia is pulling back its military from the front lines in northern Syria.
After Bashar al-Assad stepped down, America and Arab leaders are pushing for stable Syrian transition. Jordan's King Abdullah II met the top diplomats from 8 Arab countries in the Jordanian Red Sea port of Aqaba to discuss a peaceful transition in Syria, which was backed by the UN and the Arab League, following which the United States and regional diplomats have urged the new Syrian rulers to restore order for minorities in the country. At the conclusion of the meeting, Arab, Turkish and European diplomats have agreed that formation of a new government in Syria must be inclusive and should respect minority rights.
What matters is inclusivity in implementing the resolution, no exclusion or marginalization, so that all Syrians feel that this historical moment for all of them.
Stability in the region is very important because our neighbors' problems today are our problems tomorrow. And therefore, I'm very glad that we had this meeting together with the international actors as well as the regional actors.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, after the meeting, said the transition process should be Syrian-led, Syrian-owned, and produce an inclusive and representative government.
We agreed that the transition process should be Syrian-led and Syrian-owned and produce an inclusive and representative government. The rights of all Syrians, including minorities and women, should be respected. Humanitarian aid should be able to reach people who need it. State institutions should deliver essential services to the Syrian people. Syria should not be used as a base for terrorist groups or others who threaten Syria's people, its neighbors, or the world.
The United States has also made direct contact with Syrian rebel group HTS, which led the offensive that toppled the Assad regime. It is the first acknowledgement of direct American contact with Hayat Tahrir al-Sham.
Yes, we've been in contact with HTS and with other parties. We have impressed upon everyone we've been in contact with the importance of helping find Austin Tice and bringing him home.
Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has ordered the military to prepare to remain throughout the winter in the zone and summit of Mount Hermon. Israel Army Chief Herzi Halevi has visited troops operating in the UN-patrolled buffer zone that separates the Golan Heights from Syria. Meanwhile, Russia is pulling back its military from the front lines in northern Syria, but is not leaving its 2 main bases in the country after the fall of President Assad. Bureau Report, DD India.
While thousands of Israelis took to the streets for a deal to release the remaining hostages still held in Gaza after more than 14 months of conflict with Hamas in the Palestinian territory. There has been guarded optimism in recent days that a ceasefire and hostage release deal for Gaza might finally be within reach after months of abortive mediation efforts. And in the latest from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia claimed to have destroyed 15 Ukrainian drones overnight. 13 of the drones were downed over the Black Sea and one each over the Russian border regions of Kursk and Belgorod. Meanwhile, Ukrainian air defenses destroyed 56 out of 108 drones launched by Russia during its latest overnight strike. Kyiv's military said that another 49 were locationally lost, typically a result of electronic jamming. Debris from the destroyed drones damaged an unspecified piece of infrastructure as well as an apartment building and homes. This comes as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy on Saturday claimed that Russia began deploying North Korean soldiers to storm Ukrainian positions in the Kursk region, according to preliminary information. Russia, meanwhile, has neither confirmed nor denied the presence of North Koreans on its part.
I have preliminary evidence that the Russians have begun to use soldiers from North Korea in assaults, a noticeable number of them. I am referring to operations in the Kursk region, where Ukraine has been mounting an incursion since August.
And shifting focus to America, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has picked his former intelligence chief, Richard Grenell, as his presidential envoy for special missions. Trump announced the move on his Truth social media platform, saying Grenell would work in some of the hottest spots around the world, including Venezuela and North Korea. Well, Trump also named his ally, David Nunes, as former U.S. lawmaker who now runs Trump's Truth social media platform to serve as chairman of President's Intelligence Advisory Board. Nunes is a longtime Trump defender who led the U.S. House of Representatives Intelligence Committee during part of Trump's first White House term. The President's Intelligence Advisory Board is a White House panel that offers the President independent assessments of intelligence agencies' effectiveness and planning, though he will remain Truth Social CEO while serving on the advisory panel. Well, ABC News has agreed to give $15 million to Donald Trump's presidential library to settle a lawsuit over comments that an anchor, George Stephanopoulos, made on air involving the civil case brought against Trump by writer E. Jean Carroll. The lawsuit, filed on March 19th in the U.S. District Court in southern Florida, accused Stephanopoulos of making the statements with malice and disregard for the truth. It said the statements were distributed widely to third parties and repeated. The lawsuit cites a March 10th interview with U.S. Representative Nancy Mace, a Republican who's spoken publicly about being raped as a teenager. According to the settlement, ABC News must publish by Sunday a statement at the bottom of a March 10th online article that accompanied the interview. And leaders from Latin American Caribbean nations met in Caracas during the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America ALBA summit on Saturday. ALBA was founded in 2004 under the leadership of former Cuban President Fidel Castro and late Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez as a platform for integration in Latin America and the Caribbean with an emphasis on cooperation. The event, hosted by Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, was attended by heads of state from regional countries such as Cuba's Miguel Diaz-Canel, Bolivia's Luis Arce, and Nicaragua's Daniel Ortega. Diaz-Canel criticized the impact of the U.S. blockade on Cuba's economy and on the mental health of its citizens.
Since 2019, the U.S. blockade against Cuba has escalated to an extreme dimension, much more cruel and inhuman, which is not only expressed in very high costs in materials and financial resources, but also burdens to unsustainable limits the daily life of our nation. The continuation of this policy over time has an unmeasurable psychological cost.
While shifting focus, South Korea's acting president Han Duck-soo had a phone call with U.S. President Joe Biden. During the call, President Biden reiterated United States' commitment to the U.S.-South Korea alliance, stating that it remains ironclad and unchanged. Biden added that the U.S. will work with South Korea to further develop and strengthen the alliance as well as trilateral cooperation among South Korea, Japan and the United States. Prime Minister Han became South Korea's assumed acting presidency following Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment on Saturday. Meanwhile, South Korea's opposition leader urged a top court on Sunday to swiftly formalize the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol and ease the suffering of the people after his short-lived martial law decree. Well, with South Korea's parliament voting successfully to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol, Yoon's presidential powers and duties stand suspended. However, the impeached president vows to fight on as matter now goes to Constitutional Court for review. It is up to 180 days to determine whether to dismiss Yoon as president or restore his powers. Fazal Ahmed reports for more. South Korean lawmakers on Saturday voted to remove President Yoon Suk-yeol from office for his failed attempt to impose martial law on December 3rd. Out of 300 lawmakers, 204 voted to impeach the president on allegations of insurrection, while 85 voted against. 3 abstained, with 8 votes nullified.
I would like to announce the results of the vote. The motion to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol received 204 votes in favor and 85 votes against, out of a total of 300 votes cast. With 3 abstentions and 8 invalid votes, I declare it passed.
After the impeachment, South Korean President Yoon will remain in office, but his presidential powers will remain suspended. However, Yoon vowed not to give up.
I will never give up. I will do my best for the country until the last minute, taking reprimand, encouragement and support for me in mind.
So what happens next? The impeachment process moves to the Constitutional Court, where justices will review the case to determine whether Yoon's removal is justified. The court now has up to 180 days to determine whether to dismiss Yoon as the president or restore his powers. If the court upholds the impeachment, Yoon will be removed from office. If he is thrown out of office, a national election to choose his successor must be held within 60 days. If convicted, the leader could face death penalty or life imprisonment. Yoon earlier exercised the presidential privilege of immunity from criminal prosecution. However, that does not extend to allegations of rebellion or treason. Under the Constitution, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, who was appointed by Yoon, becomes acting president following impeachment.
I will give all my strength and efforts to run this state administration stable during this difficult time.
So who is Prime Minister Han Duck-soo? Han Duck-soo was appointed as Prime Minister after Yoon was elected in 2022. Han has expertise in economy, trade and public affairs and was Prime Minister during the Roh Moo-hyun administration from April 2007 to February 2008. He spent more than 40 years in the public sector, including the Customs Agency, Trade Ministry and Finance Ministry. He also served as an ambassador to the United States. The vote took place as hundreds of thousands took to the streets of Seoul in rival rallies for and against Yoon, who launched a failed attempt to impose martial law on December 3rd. Many celebrated, while Yoon supporters termed it unfortunate. It was the second attempt to impeach Yoon after the first vote was boycotted by his conservative People Power Party. The impeachment came following his short-lived attempt to impose martial law on December 3rd. His move had shocked the nation and split his party. Fazal Ahmed reporting for DD India. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. 4 white rhinos and other animals died after drinking toxic water from Lake Shivero near Harare, Zimbabwe. The animals, including 3 zebra, 4 wild beasts and others, have been poisoned by cyanobacteria, which is also toxic to humans. Fans queued eagerly as Paul McCartney performed the first UK show of his Get Back tour, celebrating over 60 years of timeless music. He'll perform one further show in Manchester and wrap with tour concerts in London. People in El Salvador honor the victims of the 1981 El Bazot massacre, where 988 civilians were killed. They demand justice, denouncing decades of impunity for those responsible. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. India's Home Minister Amit Shah honours Chhattisgarh police with President's colour. And Australia ends the second day of the third Border Gavaskar Test match with 405 runs at the loss of 7 wickets.
So we begin our journey exploring the factories where cricket gear is made, uncovering the process that has made Meerut famous worldwide.
Meerut was one area which was allocated for sports industry.
They have done very well, they are making a cricket bat, cricket ball, RB pads, leather goods.
All around the world, they get their bats made in India. So you can imagine the kind of work they put in, and it's not an easy job.
There is a lot of hard work, a lot of craftsmanship, a lot of precision that goes inside the product.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, Sri Lanka's President Anura Kumara Dissanayake will begin his India tour today, marking his first overseas visit after assuming office. President Dissanayake will be accompanied by Sri Lanka's Foreign Minister Vijita Herath and Deputy Minister of Finance Dr. Harshana Surya Purama. During the 3-day visit, President Dissanayake will meet his Indian counterpart Draupadi Murmu and hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday, while External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will call on the visiting dignitary on Sunday evening. And Moldova's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister Mikhail Popsoy arrived on his first official visit to India, marking a significant step in strengthening ties between the two countries. Welcoming Moldovan Deputy PM, India's External Affairs Ministry in a social media post said that his visit will deepen India-Moldova bilateral ties and foster a stronger partnership. During his visit, Deputy Prime Minister Popsoy will meet India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. On Monday, Popsoy will participate in a wreath-laying ceremony at Rajghat. Popsoy's visit follows the second India-Moldova Foreign Office consultations held in New Delhi in October. Well, the centre has deferred the introduction of bills related to one nation, one election in India's lower house of parliament, that is the Lok Sabha, till after the completion of financial business. Earlier, the two bills, the Constitution 129th Amendment Bill and the Union Territories Law Amendment Bill, were listed for introduction in the Lok Sabha on Monday. The revised list of business issued by the Lok Sabha Secretariat does not have the two bills on the agenda for Monday. The two bills are related to the implementation of the simultaneous elections to Lok Sabha and state assemblies were circulated among members last week as per the rules of procedure. The winter session of Parliament is scheduled to conclude on the 20th of December. And India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar inaugurated the Geoscience Museum and presided at the unveiling ceremony of the statue of Srimant Jivajirao Sindhya at Jivaji University in Gwalior. The Vice President stated that the unveiling of the statue of Srimant Jivajirao Sindhya underscores his enduring legacy and contributions to the development.
उन महानुभाव ने आज़ादी के बाद राष्ट्रीयता को नई गति देते हुए became one of the first to integrate with Bharat and along with several others in this area. That was his vision. The historic event of unveiling his statue will ever be etched in my memory.
And moving on, the Chhattisgarh police was honoured with President's colours on Sunday for its dedication to the peace, security and service of the people of Chhattisgarh. India's Home Minister Amit Shah congratulated the state police for receiving the President's mark. He said when Chhattisgarh becomes Naxalism-free, entire country will get rid of the menace. He also said Chhattisgarh's huge contribution to the glorious history of developed India will be marked in golden letters.
कलर सिर्फ एक अलंकरण नहीं है, ये सेवा, त्याग और बलिदान का प्रतीक है। यह उन अनगिनत चुनौतियों की याद दिलाता है जिनके साथ आपको दो दो हाथ करना है। ये अलंकरण के साथ साथ एक दायित्व भी है और मुझे विश्वास है कि छत्तीसगढ़ पुलिस के हर जवान इस दायित्व को सुपेरे निभाएगा और अपनी फर्ज में कभी भी एक तसु भी पीछे नहीं हटेगा।
Well, India's Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju on Sunday responded to Congress MP Rahul Gandhi's remarks on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech in the Parliament's lower house, Lok Sabha.
Prime Minister of India is not for one party. Prime Minister is for the country, and Prime Minister's vision is for the country. So I urge all the opposition members to understand the spirit of Prime Minister's message and join the campaign. And 11 mantras which Prime Minister has stated in the floor of the House is to make India fully a developed nation by 2047.
And today is the death anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the Iron Man of India. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid tributes to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel on his death anniversary today. In a social media post on X, Prime Minister said, and I quote, "Salute to the Iron Man of the country, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, on his death anniversary. His personality and work will continue to be an inspiration for the citizens for the unity, integrity of the nation and the achievement of the resolution of a developed India," unquote. India's Home Minister Amit Shah in a social media post on X remembered Sardar Patel, saying, and I quote, "I remember and pay my tribute to the symbol of India's unity, Iron Man, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, on his death anniversary. Sardar Patel laid the foundation stone for the creation of modern India by integrating more than 550 princely states. His dedication towards national unity integrity laid a strong foundation for Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat. Sardar Sahib's great personality and resolve to build the nation will forever remain a guide like the pole star for those who give priority to national interest," unquote. And moving on, 3 people, including Nikita Singhania, her mother Nisha and her brother Anurag, were arrested in connection with the suicide of Atul Subhash, Deputy General Manager in Bengaluru. Atul died on December 9th, leaving behind a 24-page note accusing his wife and his family of harassment. His father said Atul was deeply troubled by multiple cases filed against him by his wife. Police revealed Atul also alleged corruption in his note, claiming a judge demanded 5 lakh rupees to settle the case. All 3 accused have been sent to judicial custody. And moving on to some sports news, Australia ended the second day of the third Border-Gavaskar Test match with 405 runs on the board at the loss of 7 wickets. After a turbulent start, Smith and Head put up a 241-run partnership to bail Australia out of trouble. Jasprit Bumrah brought visitors back into the game, completing a 5-wicket haul after India took the second new ball in the first innings. Bumrah got rid of the Aussie openers in the first session and later dismissed the duo of Steve Smith and Travis Head, who scored 101 and 152 respectively. Nitish Kumar took 1 wicket early on in the first session, while Mohammad Siraj claimed the wicket of Australian captain Pat Cummins in the third session. And in hockey, India is set to clash with China in the finals of the Women's Junior Asia Cup on Sunday in Muscat after beating Japan 3-1 in the semi-finals. India started strong in the first quarter, capitalizing on early opportunities. Japan responded in the second quarter, narrowing the deficit. The third quarter saw both teams fight hard without finding the net. In the final quarter, a crucial save by captain Jyoti Singh in the 48th minute kept India's lead intact. India's defence remained resolute, denying further attempts to seal the 3-1 victory. The Indian team will carry this momentum into the final as they seek to defend their title successfully. And Real Madrid squandered an opportunity to claim the top spot in La Liga, settling for a 3-3 draw with Rayo Vallecano. Jude Bellingham extended his scoring streak to 5 consecutive games, but his efforts were not enough to take his team to victory. Rayo struck early while Madrid struggled initially. Federico Valverde's long-range strike and Bellingham's header brought Madrid back in the game. Madrid seemed to take control after Rodrigo's deflected shot found the net after the break, but Rayo equalized once again as Izzy Palazon capitalized on poor marking to finish cleanly. Well, India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platform. Waves provide a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. That's all for this edition of DD India, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. Lipakshi Kurana for all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.